The Justin Robert Young program brought to you, as always, by everybody who supports us at PayJuryDaily.com. Again, PayJuryDaily.com. That's where you can kick back to this here old show. Oh, man, I'm so happy to have it. I'm so happy to have you. You want to know where else I'd be very happy to have you? Well, on March 9th in Austin, Texas, myself, Brian Brushwood, we're doing ourselves a little show. We're doing a live version of our podcast, Night Attack. Okay, if you just go to podcastlink.com/Night Attack, you can go there. In fact, dude, just trigger your Siri right now. Just literally say out loud, podcastlink.com/Night Attack. It'll bring you to the page for tickets. Now, not only are we doing a show, but yeah, we are bringing our buddies, the Ice Cream Social podcast from Las Vegas, the first time ever that they're performing in Texas. And we got musical performances by the Possum Posse and Dual Core. And we have special guest appearances by the first ever live on stage performance by the Modern Rogue, the YouTube channel. We've got the Whiskey Tribe coming out. We've got Andrew Heaton of Something's Off with Andrew Heaton. He's going to be with us. Oh, dude, you don't want to miss it. Podcastlink.com/Night Attack. Enough of talking about how we support this show, though. Hey, what do you say we just do the damn thing? Big shout out to Jomo and the Possum Posse. They'll be there on March 9th. They'll be playing this song, I'll betcha. We had an email that came in on the Night Attack podcast last night on the Diamond Time segment where a guy was selling his magic cards. Selling his magic card collection to pay for his divorce. And I immediately, in the same way that a doctor strikes a kneecap so you can test your reflexes, immediately I opened up my phone and I texted Jomo, or I emailed Jomo from the Possum Posse, and I said, please make this a country song. And just send him the link to the Diamond Time submission. And so he emails me back this morning. It says, oh, like the fact that somebody's selling his magic card collection to fund a divorce? And I'm like, immediately, I wrote him back. I said, I immediately thought of you. I immediately thought of the Possum Posse because it seems like a Possum Posse song. I sold my Black Lotus to get over her black heart. Like that's the first thing I listened to is like I could just imagine Jomo and the Possum Posse writing a song about that. So he says he's working on it. We'll see whether or not he does it. But I've been so jazzed about this show on March 9th in Austin, Texas. So jazzed about the Possum Posse. I've been so jazzed about a lot of things, including the continuation of Neon Signs. Boy, howdy. Y'all keep bringing it. We got that coming up. We have a little Florida story for you. But first, we have an email from Nick from Iowa. In discussion of our Kirsten Gillibrand clip yesterday, wherein the pontificating politician was passed over by a patron who just needed some ranch dressing, Nick wrote in with some local color here. As an Iowa alum, I have been to the Airliner bar in Iowa City where Senator Gillibrand was speaking. Airliner is a solid undergrad bar that serves pizza well into the night. It boasts being Iowa's second most famous alum, Tom Brokaw's favorite spot in Iowa City. The Iowan love for ranch is one of the few flaws from being a Hawkeye. It disgusts me to the core. Being a witness to the rat race leading up to 2008 while I was there was both great entertainment and ruined the ability to watch TV without drowning in a bukkake of political ads. It immediately brought me back to my memories of being in Iowa during the 2016 primary and a very unique flavor for Iowans. The Iowa caucus is a big fucking deal. It's a big fucking deal locally. It's a big deal nationally. It is something that, again, every 2 years, a bunch of out-of-towners swarm in and they want to court the opinion of everybody in Iowa. Everybody. They want to shake hands. They want to get to know you. But more than that, Iowans expect it. They expect you to come in and they want you to memorize all the names of their dogs and they want you to shake hands. And as much as they can bitch and complain about how many commercials are airing in their state, and believe me, Bubba, coming from Florida, I understand what being inundated with political ads looks like. And when I was in Iowa, holy shit, it was wall to wall. Every single ad that would be on local television. It was the first time that I've ever just turned on local television just to watch it because I just wanted to see the ads. I wanted to experience the wall-to-wall ad, the ad break. And the biggest one that I saw was a ad from Ted Cruz talking about the New York values of Donald Trump. Ted Cruz won that primary, by the way. But here's my memory. My memory was during the Iowa caucus. It was just beginning to snow, and the results were coming in about Ted Cruz. And the hosts, the local TV hosts, were giddy that Ted Cruz was winning and that Donald Trump was losing. Because everything is local. Everything is local. Everything is about how we interact with stuff. And the reporters were giddy, not because I think that they had political problems with Donald Trump, although they very well might have. But it was because the Donald Trump campaign, they felt, was arrogant. They felt that the Donald Trump campaign was not playing by the rules. And I remember as if it were yesterday that the person that was giving the report from either Trump headquarters or Ted Cruz headquarters even made reference to, I think that this is a good example that they need to be able to treat people better. That was like a thing. And it's like, that's so inside. I don't know if you're watching this, if you're in fucking Cedar Rapids, if you're in Des Moines, if you're in any of the environs in between, if you're in Iowa City, you don't know how the PR flack that's supposed to organize interviews or media availabilities is treating the local media, nor do you really care. You're thinking about who you're going to caucus for. But it got me thinking. Everybody is defined by what they see around them. I think in our heads, we tend to think of society as a blending of a bunch of different opinions, as if they moderate each other out. That if you have a bunch of people who think A and a bunch of people who think C, that eventually the homogenization of them creates the national mood of B, if that makes sense. But I don't think that that's true. I don't think that we moderate each other. I think that everybody brings their own experiences on top. So really, if you believe one thing and somebody else believes another thing, what comes out is not the blending of the two, but rather the accumulation of two separate points. This might be a little heady, and it might have sounded a lot better on my spreadsheet than it does coming out of my mouth, because at this point, I kind of feel like this is probably its own high thought. But it kind of got me thinking. Just the idea that we spend a lot of time thinking about what is America, what is society, where are we, where should we be? Should we feel good about where we are progress-wise? Should we feel bad about where we are progress-wise? Are we going forward? Are we going backward? We spend a lot of time thinking about that. But yet we don't really think about how we get there. And more specifically, in an era of social media, when one little person can blow up into a large story, maybe those outliers aren't as strange as we think. But also, they might not be as important as we make them. It's just something to think about. Just something to process. Sometimes there are strange people around. By the way, speaking of strange people, where do they come from? Well, let's go ahead and find out. Florida. Yeah. Florida's eliminating just a treasured element of our local culture. I don't even get it, man. This whole fucking state's falling apart since I moved away. Florida to ban dumping blood off beaches to lure sharks. I mean, come on. How are you supposed to keep a well-protected beach if you're not going to have a few sharks swimming around just to make sure other sharks aren't trying to eat your beachgoers? I mean, come on. You want to make everything a shark-free zone now, I see. We read from the Sun Sentinel, a paper that I very briefly worked for. Florida is preparing a new statewide ban on the practice by fishermen along the state's iconic beaches of dumping bloody fish guts into the ocean to lure sharks closer to shore and possibly closer to swimmers and waders. The Fish and Wildlife Conservation Commission is expected later this month to finalize a ban on chumming when fishing for any species from the beach. The technique, often used for sharks, involves scattering blood, oil, and pieces of ground-up fish to produce a slick carried on the current or tide to lure predators closer to baited hooks. Quote, personally, I would strongly prefer not to be in the water where folks are ringing the dinner bell for the ocean's ultimate predator, said Debbie Salamone, whose Achilles tendon was severed by a shark bite while wading 50 feet off Cape Canaveral National Seashore in 2004. She has since become a shark conservation advocate. It's really good to be clear that sharks do not want to eat people. The new regulation would ban placing chum in the water for fishing and defines chum as fish, fish parts, or other animal products to attract marine wildlife. All these new rules would take effect on July 1st. Oh, okay. Just in time to ruin 4th of July, huh? A bunch of fucking stick in the muds up there in Tallahassee, highfalutin. Oh, sticking their nose in the air. I can't chum the water, so a bunch of sharks are showing up for my little 4th of July party, huh? Oh, hey, what does Tallahassee have in common with cities like Fort Lauderdale, Miami, Tampa, Daytona? Oh, nothing. You want to know why? They're not on a beach. It's real easy from your ivory fucking tower to sit down and look at the rest of Florida and say you can't have fun with sharks by throwing bloody fish guts in the water. Oh, it's easy to do. You landlocked landlubbers out there, a bunch of landies out there in Tally, you're too busy ripping lines of coke and, cheating the taxpayer out of money with some big sugar lobby, while the rest of us are just trying to chum the water so we got a goddamn feeding frenzy for the sharks. I swear this whole state's falling apart. All the fun of Florida has just been taken out of it. Disgusting. I gotta calm myself down. Won't somebody think of the sharks? Won't somebody? Who's gonna feed them? They're the ultimate killing machine. We're just trying to make it easy for them, dumping a few fish guts in the water. Shark swims up. Just give him a little look in his cold, dead eyes and say, hey, sup, man? What's going on? Having a good time? Swimming around? Don't stop swimming. You'll die. That's what I've heard. Have a good conversation with a shark. Maybe get to know him a little bit. Offer him a little kindness. They're just trying to make their way in life, so they get a little chum. Get a little chummy with a shark. That's fine. No, not according to Johnny Law. No. Stop the party, folks. No more bloody guts in the water. I don't know. Also, do people really fish sharks? I don't know. I don't even know. Do people really like fish for sharks? I don't know what you do. I mean, I guess you take the teeth out and sell them on really cheap chains at the beach. Is there a reaction from baby shark? What about mama shark? What about daddy shark? What about grandpa shark? We need a whole goddamn trend story now before we go any further. But also, we can go a little bit further in this episode. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to day 2. Neon signs. Day two. Tim writes, when I was in high school, I shared several classes with a girl in my graduating class. We were good friends. She and I would text in health class, passing a notebook between us, proto-texting, if you will. In the years we shared a lunch period, we'd sit in the same group of friends. One day in my gym class, probably near the end of the year, she and I were sitting on the bleachers just talking. We were laughing about something, and suddenly she got quiet and mouthed the words, "I love you," to me. Now, the problem is I've never been good at lip reading. If people mouth something to me, I will miss it 90% of the time. Even after 3 tries, my response was to continue mouthing back to her, "What?" And I did this after we were laughing about something. I did it playfully. She mouthed it again. And I responded, "What?" Genuinely curious. She then simply turned away. Conversation must have continued after this as if nothing had happened, because I don't recall anything else earth-shattering happening that day. It wasn't until years later, after running into her at a grocery store, that I looked back on that event and realized what was going on and what she was mouthing. I felt horrible about it. I was utterly clueless back then, and I wanted to run into her again so I could apologize. Of course, I don't know what would have happened if I had recognized what she was saying, seeing as that she was a smoker and not my type, and I later realized I was gay. So maybe we all dodged a bullet. We were still good friends up until graduation, but maybe we would have been more otherwise. Folks, if you have not picked up on this and you are only listening to this episode for the first time, neon signs are our ode to male ineptitude. These are the moments when it was very clear that there was some romantic or sexual offer on the table, and you, in a fit of total cluelessness, totally ignored that neon sign. Anonymous writes, it was freshman year of college. I had only one girlfriend prior, living in a triple. One night, both of my roommates were elsewhere for the night. A few people from the hall hung out in my room watching a movie as people gradually left for bed. One girl stayed. She and I were in an XL twin bed. While there weren't any verbal cues, I was missing the fact that she was in bed in the room alone. I wanted to make a move, but never had before, so I waited for her to initiate. Nothing happened, and around 6 a.m., she left. This really messed with her. She assumed that I wasn't into her and that I might be racist because she's of Chinese descent. How do I know if I affected her? Because 9 months later, we finally hooked up. That was 12 years ago, and we are now a happy couple living together with a mortgage both signed. Sure, I missed a neon sign, but I guess it all worked out. All right, stop the neon signs. I have a lot of questions about this email. Number one, what the fuck? All right? Honestly, what? I mean, like, who's writing in happy stories to the neon sign segment? Do you really, beyond going, do you really get the theme, right? Beyond that, like, the other people that are writing into this are bearing their soul. They are bearing the moment when they feel that there was a irreplaceable fork in the road that they took the wrong turn on. And you, dear sir, decide to submit the meet cute for how you landed with your significant other for which you are happily together forever? And then, sir, you decide to write it in anonymously? Really? Anonymously. You can't even put your name on the fact that you had a very happy time in which you met your wife, sir. Resign, sir. There's only one explanation for why you would write in a meet cute with your wife anonymously. And that's because your girlfriend is a listener to this show. That's it. That's the only reason why I would imagine you would write this in and insist I read it anonymously. Moving on. Brett writes, I was homeschooled and fairly sheltered during my middle school years. I went back to public school for high school. Sometime during my first week of freshman year, a sophomore slipped me a note in the library that read, I want to blow you. Meet me at 3 p.m. at my car, with her name on it. I could have benefited from some late 90s internet searching to get my terminology right because I had only know of blow and blowing in negative connotations, as in this team's defense blows and the kicker in the Florida State Miami game is blowing it with these wide right kicks. I would only later find out that I had blown it when I found out that the term she was writing about was giving somebody oral sex. It took me a little while longer to catch up with the rest of society, but I definitely did look back and think, man, did I miss a giant blinking neon sign for a free blowy? Yes! Back. Brett brought us back. Thank you, Brett. We bring it on home with Gary. Gary writes, my neon sign story began one weekend when I was 20 and my friend and I were getting ready to go to a club. His girlfriend and her smoking hot sister came over and we were getting ready to go out. I was wearing some really tight pants and the hot sister commented that they were a really tight fit and then asked if I thought I could get into hers, to which I replied, thinking I was smooth and complimenting her, no, you're way smaller than me. It wasn't until later that weekend, after everyone had gone home, that the proverbial anvil dropped. True story. I used to know a dude who worked at the newspaper in college that his number one way, he was like a skinny rocker guy, his number one way of hitting on girls was saying, I love your jeans. Can I try them on? And that dude cleaned house. It's a good move. If you're a skinny dude, offer to try on girls' pants. It'll get you laid. All right, that about wraps it up for us today. I want to thank our producers, The Jen, PD Rave, Non-Specific, Rock and Roll Martian, Joe Acosta, whoa! James, the OG Brito, whoa! And Matthew B. You can email me, jurydaily@gmail.com, Twitter, Instagram, Snapchat @Justin R. Young, and you can join our Discord, bit.ly/JuRY Discord. Friends, Keep up. We got 2 more days. Actually, no, 1 more day. 1 more day. 1 more day of neon signs. Only 1 more day of neon signs. You better bring it strong. If you're listening to this right now, you better write in your fucking neon signs right now. All right. Until tomorrow, this is your old pal, Justin Robert Young, imploring you to please give a round of applause to Mr. Wacky, but more importantly, asking you to please don't.
Diamond Club hopes you have enjoyed this program.